Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Tyler's Hot Take. Today we will be discussing the topic of climate change, which is a very hot topic. So today I have a very special guest with me, Professor Lindsay Beal, who is a research assistant at the Center for Climate Change. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Of course. So, can you talk to me about your work and or research surrounding climate change?
Sure. So I am a research assistant at the Center for Climate Change Communication, which is called 4C for short. And I work on one central project that's funded by NASA. And we have conducted experiments that examine how the public reacts to scientists who advocate. So whether they are advocating for a controversial solution like mandated vaccines, or a not so controversial solution like incentives for using renewable energy. So we look at how the public reacts to the types of communication from scientists and how scientists can better communicate with the public about these controversial issues.
Awesome. So you kind of play the role in having or helping these scientists be more transparent in what they're doing.
Exactly. So the public, we like to know, why is the scientist telling us this information? Is it because they want us to do something? Is it because they want to, push their agenda? So if scientists explain why they're communicating, why they're sharing information, it can go a long way with raising awareness and changing attitudes.
Awesome. So a follow-up question I kind of have off that is how can climate change be communicated to the public in an effective manner, and how do you play a role, or just what are ways that scientists can communicate what they are doing to the public better?
Sure. So at 4C, we do a lot of research looking at communication strategies. We look at ways climate change can be framed to resonate better with specific audiences. One strategy is talking about consensus messaging, so emphasizing that 97% of climate scientists agree that human-caused climate change is happening. That number is largely underestimated by the public. Most people think it's a 50-50 split between climate change skeptics and climate change believers or acceptors, which isn't the case. Most climate scientists agree it's happening. So talking about that message, framing climate change in a way that makes it seem like a local threat. It's not far off. It's here and now. It's affecting our health. It's affecting our environment, and making sure we emphasize that it's a problem and it's serious.
Awesome. So I do have a lot of climate change skeptic friends, actually, and I also have a lot of climate change believers and people who actually take steps and take the initiative to trying to reduce their carbon footprint as much as they can. I have friends who carpool and who bike to school every day, but what would be your advice to people that are skeptics of climate change?
So in terms of what they can do, or how
how they can get more involved, or how we can change their minds on how this issue is really, like you said, less far off, and it's really more localized.
Right. So one way to do that is to present evidence from sources that are respected from both political conservatives and political liberals, because usually that's where the divide is. It's an ideological divide. It's a very politicized issue, so liberals tend to think one way about it, conservatives tend to think another way about it. That's not always the case, but typically that's how it works. So presenting unbiased sources, also not necessarily talking about climate change. So frame it in a way that discusses reducing CO2 footprint as saving them money, or switching to solar panels as opposed to using electricity. So solar panels in the long run will save you money. It'll make you money. So talking about it as an energy independence issue or an economic issue. And most of the time, economic savings are the best way to go.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. I see a lot of people still, not a lot of people, but a good amount of people still driving like Hummers.
Right.
That's kind of ridiculous because I know
And
those
a
things
Prius
just
will
guzzle
get you
gas.
good gas mileage, right?
I know.
You'll save in gas, so.
I don't know why more people haven't switched. I have a good friend who just switched from a Ram truck to a Prius, actually, which is a big step for him. Big step for him.
I'm sure.
Okay. Another question I had was you being a professor at George Mason and me being a student here, and maybe some of the listeners of this podcast being in the George Mason community as well. What has Mason done to reduce climate change as much as they can, or what groups or programs have they furnished to combat climate change?
Yeah, so Mason has a sustainability office. I'm pretty familiar with them and their work. We have a great recycling program. We have greenhouses on campus that actually grow plants, grows food, and then takes them to the dining hall for students to consume, which cuts down on fossil fuels because of gas transporting food. It cuts down on growing and all the carbon and particles and other gases that it takes to create that. So Mason is definitely helping in that respect, and it's a great initiative. I hope more people will get involved in.
Awesome. Yeah, no, it's good. I see a lot of this kind of sustainable campus stuff going on every day. I mean, there's a Bike to Mason Day coming up, I'm pretty sure. Like you said, that the greenhouses we have on campus with the hydroponic plants, that's awesome. And I was actually talking to Professor Dermeyer, who is one of the professors for climate change here at Mason, and he was saying that some of the departments here at Mason have kind of a contest of who can reduce their carbon footprint the most. Some of them carpool, some of them bike to work, and I think that's also really cool for the professors to do that as well, for the professors to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Awesome. So if there, I know this isn't your specialization, but if you could kind of talk about what scientists are doing for research on their end, because I know a lot of people are, like you said, are trying to spread awareness, but I know a lot of people don't actually know about climate change. I don't know if it's things like the seawater levels rising or the ozone layer depletion, but I don't know if you could talk about this a little bit. If not, it's totally cool.
So, I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not a climate scientist, but I do know that some climate scientists and 4C works with, we work with physicians, we work with scientists, physicists, we work with a very wide variety of researchers, and we collaborate with a lot of people. And one thing that everyone can agree on is that people really don't understand the science behind climate change or the mechanisms of how climate change and global warming, how it works. So one thing that scientists are trying to do is explain that in non-expert ways or to non-technical audiences.
Yeah, kind of dumb it down for the rest of us, right?
Well, I would use the word simplify, but yes. So, make sure that people understand how it works, because if you understand it and you know what's going on, your opinions will change and your attitudes may change.
So I guess one of my, final wrap-up questions would be what message would you have for any listeners out there, whether it's how they can get involved in reducing their carbon footprint and what to do in terms of trying to combat climate change?
There are multiple things that individually people can do. Obviously, they can do the basic recycling, carpooling. But one thing that we absolutely need is we need collective action, and we need political movement. Climate change is very much a global societal issue, and individuals can make a difference, but we have a better chance of succeeding if we have a group effort. To contact your Congress people, maybe donate if you can spare a couple of dollars. Every little bit helps, to try to get active politically if that's something that people are comfortable with. And if not, talk about climate change with your friends and family. Raise awareness, make it so it's on people's radar, because I think sometimes we prioritize other issues over climate change, which is maybe why people aren't talking about it that much.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. That's some good advice. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today on Tyler's Hot Take. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about a very hot topic that we have here today, Lindsay. And I will be seeing you soon.
Great, no problem. Have a nice night.
Thank you.
Bye.
That concludes my first episode of Tyler's Hot Take. Today's topic was climate change. And catch me back here next week, Monday at 10 p.m. for another episode of Tyler's Hot Take. Bye.